Justin Morgenstein, you're on deck.
Jim, you were asked the other day about Sam and ISO things at the end of games. Your answer was about how he can get in the lane, and obviously Sam's a good player. But in in-game situations and ISO ball and hero ball, and he's a new guy on your team and he's trying to fit in. Just, what is that whole dynamic like, Jim? I mean, obviously he's a good player, but how do you manage that with trying to get everybody in the best possible situation?
Yeah, well, you know what? Happy New Year's, by the way, to everybody.
Thank
All right, hopefully it's a better one for everybody. Hey, good question. But we got a bunch of unselfish guys. We do a ton of situations in practice, and in a game like that, and with our team, we're gonna read who's got it going in that situation. And there wasn't anybody in that gym that didn't think Sam should have that ball, and he just did it. A couple plays earlier, he basically won the game. If if we get to stop or if there's not a foul call or whatnot. So he was the one that had it kind of going to break it down. Now in other games, there's going to be other people. We might be going to other people. We have a kind of we have a different set for each guy of who we're going to go to in certain situations. I think it's really playing out to who's breaking them down or who's got things going at that time. The other option we discussed was getting MJ a play off like a screen or something like that. But we felt that Sam had just gotten into paint, made that basket to put us up one. We felt like we were going to have a good opportunity. But the guys, we work with these guys all the time on these situations. And like I said, we have packages for different guys. We have stuff for Isaiah. We have stuff for Miles. We have stuff for MJ, stuff for Jamari. So it's not always going to be that.
Thanks, Coach. Justin Morgenstein will come to you next. Mark Brennan, you're on deck.
Happy New Year, Coach.
Hey, Justin, Happy New Year.
I'm interested to kind of hear about, you've had a couple close losses last play, the end of the games this year. What is the regrouping process like for you guys, and how do you kind of take a loss like that, when or one against Michigan, and just try to get confidence heading into the next game, because obviously they're all tough.
Yeah, I think we have a resilient group. What a lot of people don't understand, as coaches, we're just different people. After a loss, man, I don't sleep, I don't eat, I don't function real well until the next game, until you get back out there. But you can't let your kids see that. And I think the players too. We got to look at the positives of what we've done well. And in a league like this, I've said this multiple times. You can't let the Indiana game affect the Wisconsin game. Okay, you just can't. We couldn't let, and I know it's been so much. There's so much time in between games for us right now. It's been brutal, but we couldn't let the Illinois game affect our Indiana game. You got to learn from your mistakes. You got to see what you did right, and then you got to move on to the next game. That was a heartbreaking loss at Indiana. I thought we certainly down the stretch we outplayed them. We were up. We had a chance to win the game. There was some controversial calls, maybe it felt like a lot of emotion, but in reality we had to get right back to practice yesterday and focus on ourselves, see what we did right, see what we did wrong, making some adjustments to what we're doing, and then get our focus on the next game, because if you let it linger, it's just not okay, and that's a way to keep yourself losing instead of making plays to win.
Mark Brennan, you've got the next question, and then Nate Bauer, you're next after that, and then we've got some other questions. If anyone else has any other questions to submit for Coach Ferry.
Hey, Jim, Happy New Year to you and your family.
Thanks, Mark. You too, buddy.
Hey, you're in uncharted territory. Being an interim coach in a pandemic probably hasn't happened since 1918 or something. I wonder how that has impacted what you're able to do recruiting-wise. And what is your message to recruits? How do you sell the program? And I mean that respectfully, because you're in a unique situation.
Yeah, and it is. It's a very, very unique situation. And, the pandemic, and just the recruiting rules are different now. So we're still working at it every day. We recruit every day. We have some kids that are very interested in, and you do sell. You sell the university. Penn State is an unbelievable place. It is a great place. I've had two daughters graduate from here, so I'm a diehard. I'm a Penn State dad. So there's so much great about this place. We sell the program. We sell the success of the program. You know, we still have good basketball here, um, and I just sell, the vision of what I can project and what we have here. And I'm an honest guy. I sell what I know and what I've lived, and the stuff that I've lived here has been great about this place. So you get the right people that have the right interest for the right reasons, and you can continue to recruit them. And then as time moves forward, we'll see where everything's at.
Nate Bauer, we'll come to you, and then Dave Melendra, you'll be on deck.
Hey, Jim. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey, defensively, what do you see right now?
We're not very good.
Okay.
We're not defending to the level that we need to defend to. And we're making adjustments. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but we're making them. I think it's obvious. Listen, we got guys that are playing really hard. There's not one person that you sit out there and say you're not playing. We're playing hard. We lack rim protection. Everybody's attacking us that way. We have to make adjustments to that. We've done a good job of taking away threes. We've always done a good job of stealing the basketball, but we've got to make some adjustments right now. We are a different team than we've maybe been in the past couple of years and defended a certain way, and we've been spending a lot of time on that. Not using this as an excuse, guys, at all. Okay, we just haven't played a lot of games, so really to get into that groove and to recognize. I said it earlier, right? We're playing Seton Hall was going to be a good test for us because it was so big, and it's kind of played out, right? And then you had to turn around and you played an Illinois team was big, and Michigan was big. So, we've got to make adjustments. We are making adjustments. The issue is we just haven't had that time to get into game rhythm and game productivity and get used to each other. And it's coming. I mean, we got it now, right? We got it coming real quick. So hopefully the adjustments are going to show. We're going to tighten things up, and we're going to get better. We got to defend inside the line significantly better than we have.
If I could just follow real quick, what impact, if any, do you feel like the early fouls have had?
Huge. Okay. I think it's huge. But it's all kind of a combination. We're not guarding the ball well. People are attacking us to the paint. We're fouling. In the post, we've been fouling. We're getting hurt on the offensive glass, which leads to fouls, and that's a big part. Like, anybody that knows me that in my programs, free throws. My program has always been a big free throw program. Make more than your opponent's attempt, and we're actually getting beat badly at that aspect. It's flipped on us right now, and that has to change. And these are things that we're working on. Again, we've had, certainly since I've been here, we've had rim protectors. From Mike Watkins, Julian. Lamar, and we don't have those guys, and we have to adapt and make some changes, and we are doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach, for that. Dave Melendra, you're next. Corey Geiger, you're on deck.
Quick question for you. One, is there any update about the rescheduled game against Drexel?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen now. We had a window, and we couldn't fill it. Right now, we're so focused on league play right now. I don't even know. There might be one more gap that we can try to get a game in. I think that would be that week of like the 25th that we're working on that stuff. I don't know if it's going to be Drexel, though. We couldn't get that one done. That was one of the ones we tried to get done. What was that? Right out of finals, and it just didn't work out.
And secondly, for me, would be, what is it about Wisconsin that's going to present some challenges for you guys to potentially upset the number 7 team in the nation?
Yeah, they're really good. I think that's the biggest thing. They're really good. You're talking about probably the oldest team in college basketball. And when you talk about old in age, they're 24 years old. There's a bunch of guys that are 24 years old. You're also talking about experienced guys that have played together. They're a really, really good team. They don't vary from what they do. They have 5 guys on the floor that can all score in multiple ways. They can all pass. They can all dribble. They can shoot. They can shoot threes. They hit mid-range. They post up. They really play off each other through their experience. They're just a really good team. They're an exceptional defensive team. And they get the games to their pace. And that's going to be the biggest thing is we can't play the game at their pace. We got to play it at our pace. Last year's games here, the game was hanging around in the 40s. It was their kind of pace. We got to get the game up and down the court. We got to get them playing faster like us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Corey Geiger, let's come to you, and then let's go to Jack Washer.
Jim, following up on Mark's question about recruiting, hey, look, I know you're in the middle of a season. You got a game in 22 hours, but we're all writing just story after story about the transfer portal with football. Mark asks about recruiting. People want to know what the future is like as well. You've got a lot of experience at the small and mid major levels where kids are looking to move on with the new rule coming up with the transfer rule. Just how do you see all this playing out for your program and just the amount of movement that we could see in the future?
Yeah, Corey, you've been doing this a long time. You and I are kind of on the same track. We are going to see a total different game of college basketball. The game's going to change a little bit because you're going to have kids that are only in your program for 1 year, or just new kids. The transfer portal, it's going to take over the whole thing. It's changing college recruiting, and believe me, and that's why I'm not that concerned with the interim tag right now and it affecting recruiting because we are such a great place. We are going to be able to get some really good players out of the transfer market. It just has to be. That's how it works now. Um, Having someone like myself that's been in the business so long and all my connections, it used to be about having connections with and relationships with high school coaches. Now it's about your relationships and connections with college coaches, your peers, to get the right information about kids, good kid, bad kid, strengths, weaknesses, all this stuff, because that's where it's going to go. It's where it's going to go. Now, still, a program like Penn State and someone like myself, you want those core kids, you want those high school kids, but you're also going to be able to, recover quickly now, and take older guys and keep your program old. And I think at a place at Penn State, when you can stay old, that's where you're good. You look at our team last year, like we had experience, we're old, you're good. And that's what Penn State is. And I think it's going to help us to stay old. Now, it's also going to help other programs stay old as well. I mean, you look at Wisconsin, they're one of the best teams in the country because they're old. Um, but I think that's something that's going to be an advantage for us. And it's certainly going to be an advantage for me as the interim head coach, if I am named head coach, where I'll be able to recover quickly because there's going to be so many more kids that fit who we are that are going to be available.
Coach, for explaining that. Jack Washer, let's come to your question. Jack is right now the last question, unless anyone else has anything that they'd like to add. But let's go to you, Jack.
Hey, Coach. What is the? You kind of touched on it a little bit before, but what is the frustration of playing a team like Wisconsin, where they may not be the most athletic team in the country, but they're so fundamentally sound, and they're, as you know, they're a top 10 team, and even if they have a poor shooting night, they're always going to be in the game. What is the frustration for your team or anybody playing someone like that?
Well, I don't know if the word frustration. I know what you're saying, but they're good. They're really good. I mean, it's frustrating playing against Illinois. They're really good too, I guess. But I don't use the word frustration. It's hard, right? They've been good for a long time because they stay true to who they are. They're very similar. Each year they recruit the players that fit their system. They're extremely well coached. Greg does a fantastic job. And when you got a team that's just really good, you have to play really well to beat them. And we have to make shots against them. We have to. We can't let them beat us up in the post. We got to out rebound them. There's little things you have to do. And when you're playing teams that are good all the time, I guess that's where you talk about your frustration. It's just a matter of you got to execute, you got to play well, and you got to try to somehow get them off balance. But that's why they're so good, is because they very rarely do get off balance.
Thanks, Coach. Dave Melender, let's wrap it up with you with the last question.
Hey, Coach, can you just talk about where some of the challenges this season has been so far, especially when you are scheduled to play a certain team, then it gets postponed, then another team calls you to see if they can add you to your schedule? Can you just talk about some of those challenges?
You have time? Enough time? The challenges of this season, of this year, has been not overwhelming, but it's been just unprecedented. I've been coaching a long time, and scheduling is always difficult. Recruiting is always difficult. Getting your kids to buy in and be a great team is always difficult. Like, so you combine all that stuff with a pandemic and testing every day and the unknown. It's really challenging, but it you can't get overwhelmed by it. Like this is what we are right now. This is what the world is right now. This is where our country is right now. This is where college basketball is right now. If you don't have the ability to adjust, if you don't have the ability on the fly to wake up with a plan this morning, and then by 11 o'clock having the ability to change it, then you're going to fall behind and you will get frustrated. So I think the ability to just be flexible, be able to adjust, rely on each other. We rely on each other as a staff to make decisions. You got to be flexible. You can't let it get to frustration. Come on, man. There's a lot more going on in this world that's significantly more important than scheduling a men's basketball in reality, right? It's just a life we live, so it's an everyday thing. But you got to be able to move quick, man. You got to be able to move quick, and you got to be able to, change the plan or the direction that you're in and flip it.
Coach, appreciate you. Appreciate your time. We're going to have everyone exit the room.